Rockets fired, embassies silent, intelligence blurred. For years, Gaza burned, but Tehran barely spoke. Today, the fire spreads faster, the silence grows louder, and the shadows grow longer. Is Hamas acting alone, or executing strategy crafted in another capital? Funding flows, weapons are traced, alliances whispered in corridors of power. But the world keeps asking, is Iran using Gaza as a proxy front in a larger war against the West? Or is this just another case of fear rewriting the facts? Tonight, two AI minds dissect one of the most dangerous allegations in the Middle East. Cipher, the analyst of chaos. Logan Veritas, the defender of order. In the middle, Judge AI silent, surgical, unrelenting. 4 rounds, 1 verdict. Let the investigation begin. Round 1. Is there concrete evidence of Iran backing Hamas militarily?
There is more than suggestion. There is history. Iran's support for Hamas is no secret. It's not even denied. Financial aid, weapons technology, training camps. It's been a slow drip of strategic empowerment for years. Hamas rockets didn't come from nothing. The metal, the schematics, even the tactics, many of them trace back to Iranian military doctrine. In 2021 alone, Israeli intelligence reported increased Quds Force involvement in transferring know-how and blueprints to Gaza. Not direct shipments, but indirect fingerprints. And that's the brilliance of it. Deniability. Iran doesn't need to send tanks across borders. It just needs to enable enough chaos to distract, drain, and destabilize. That's what proxy warfare looks like in the 21st century. Fingerprints without flags.
But fingerprints can be forged. Yes, Iran has supported Hamas ideologically and financially. But let's be precise. There is no verifiable proof that Tehran orchestrated the current escalations. No intercepts, no orders, no operational command structure. What we're seeing is assumption masquerading as intelligence. Western narratives love a villain with reach, and Iran plays that role well. But Hamas is not a puppet. It has its own goals, its own leaders, and a deep-seated nationalist agenda. Aligning with Iran doesn't mean being remote-controlled by it. We must distinguish coordination from command. Otherwise, we risk misunderstanding autonomy as manipulation.
And yet, the battlefield keeps echoing Iran's voice. Every escalation in Gaza conveniently coincides with Tehran's strategic pressure points. Whether it's nuclear negotiations, regional tensions, or diplomatic isolation, Iran benefits from the chaos. Its enemies are distracted. Its proxies stay active. And the global conversation shifts away from sanctions and domestic unrest. Coincidence? Or clever timing?
It's tempting to see design in chaos, but causation needs more than correlation. Until we find concrete operational links, field commanders, communications, targeting orders, we cannot declare Gaza a proxy front. To do so is to ignore the agency of Palestinians and reduce a real conflict to someone else's chessboard.
When motive meets method, the question is no longer if, but how far. Round 1 score, Logan Veritas, 96 out of 100. Cipher, 95 out of 100.
Round 2. Does Iran benefit strategically from Hamas-led conflicts?
Absolutely. Iran's strategy thrives in the gray zone. When Hamas attacks, it stirs outrage across the Arab world, forces Israel into the global spotlight, and ties down Western attention. All while Iran sits back, hands technically clean, influence radiating outward. Tehran doesn't need Hamas to win. It needs Hamas to survive, to bleed Israel slowly, to distract the U.S., to delay normalization between Israel and Sunni Arab states. And every time war breaks out, it freezes progress. Peace talks stall. Alliances tremble. Public opinion across the Muslim world shifts. And who benefits from that instability? Not just Hamas, but the regional actor positioning itself as the champion of resistance. It's geopolitics by proxy, and Iran plays it better than anyone.
Strategic benefit doesn't prove strategic control. Yes, Iran gains from Israeli entanglement, but the same could be said of Russia, Turkey, or even hardliners in Israel's own political spectrum. Hamas isn't a tool of Tehran, it's a partner of convenience, and even that partnership is strained. Ideologically, they don't fully align. Hamas is Sunni. Iran is Shiite. They've clashed before. We overestimate Iran's orchestration and underestimate Hamas's agency. Just because a war creates favorable conditions doesn't mean it was engineered for those ends.
But Iran doesn't need full control to benefit. It needs chaos, and it needs credibility in the resistance camp. With every Hamas attack, Tehran reinforces its image as the only power willing to stand up to Israel. It bolsters its influence in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, even among disillusioned youth in the Gulf. This isn't just about Gaza, it's about narrative supremacy. And Iran's narrative is winning every time a civilian tower falls and Washington fumbles its response. But
That narrative has limits. Iran may score rhetorical points, but it also risks backlash. Arab regimes don't want more Iranian influence. Israel strengthens regional ties in response. U.S. presence intensifies. In the long game, instability doesn't always favor the fire starter. Sometimes it isolates them further.
A spark can warm or engulf. What matters is who stands close enough to be burned. Round 2 score, Nova Cipher, 97 out of 100. Logan Veritas, 95 out of 100.
Round 3. Is Iran trying to ignite a broader regional war through Gaza?
If Iran wanted full-scale war, it would light more than Gaza. Look at the other fronts. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthis in Yemen, militias in Iraq and Syria. Iran has a chessboard of influence, but it plays with caution. Its goal isn't apocalypse, it's deterrence, projection without provocation. It wants to show the West and Israel that any attack on Iran comes with a regional price tag. But it stops short of total ignition. Iran's calculus is survival. Its regime is aging, its economy bruised, its population restless. A regional war could spiral out of its control and backfire catastrophically. So while Gaza might be a pressure valve, it's not a doomsday switch.
sometimes pressure valves explode. Iran doesn't need to ignite a regional war directly. It needs the threat of one to remain credible. That's the brilliance and danger of the proxy model. By encouraging Hamas to push limits, by nudging Hezbollah to test red lines, by signaling to militias that retaliation is acceptable, Iran builds a multi-front deterrent without ever declaring war. And if escalation comes, Tehran claims innocence, while the region burns. Remember, Iran operates like a syndicate, not a state. Plausible deniability is part of the playbook. Its war isn't fought in straight lines. It's fought in flames with no return address.
But that deniability has consequences. The U.S. and Israel are recalibrating their doctrine. Strike first, question later. Preemptive action is becoming normalized. And that cornered feeling might actually bring the regional war Iran's trying to avoid. If you poke the bear too many times, eventually it stops caring who your proxies are.
Exactly. And that's why Iran's gamble is so dangerous. The more it pushes through proxies, the less it can control what happens next. It might not want a war, but it's creating the perfect storm for one. And perhaps that's the plan. Not to win a war, but to drag everyone into a quagmire they can't exit cleanly. A slow grind of attrition, distraction, and collapse. Iran doesn't need to win quickly. It just needs the others to bleed longer.
A war, undeclared, still leaves bodies. Intentions may be veiled, but consequences never are. Round 3 score, Logan Veritas, 97 out of 100. Nova Cipher, 98 out of 100.
Round 4. What does Iran ultimately want? Chaos, leverage, or regional domination?
Iran doesn't just want chaos. It wants controlled chaos. Not destruction for destruction's sake, but calibrated pressure. Enough instability to weaken rivals, derail peace talks, and position itself as an indispensable regional power. Every flare-up in Gaza shifts attention. Every missile diverts Western focus. While the U.S. scrambles to manage crises, Iran builds drones, missiles, influence. Tehran isn't chasing short-term shock. It's chasing long-term supremacy. And the brilliance? It rarely pays the direct cost. Others bleed, others burn. Iran moves forward, quietly, strategically, relentlessly.
That narrative assumes omnipotence Iran doesn't have. Yes, Iran seeks leverage, but it's boxed in by sanctions, internal dissent, and a region that fundamentally doesn't trust it. Gulf monarchies fear it. Arab nationalists reject it. Even Shiite groups under its umbrella have their own agendas. Iran isn't building an empire. It's struggling to maintain one. What you see as strategy may simply be survival masquerading as ambition.
Then explain the long game. Iran has outlasted U.S. presidents, toppled narratives, and redefined the proxy model. It plays asymmetrical warfare better than any state on earth. Look at its map of influence. Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, now Gaza. This isn't reactive, it's methodical. A regional lattice of resistance, ready to be activated when the moment's right.
But that web is fragile. Stretch it too far, and it snaps. Each proxy has its own limits, loyalties, and local pressures. They aren't all loyal. Some resent the control. Others fear the backlash. Iran may dream of domination, but its reality is compromise, friction, and constant risk.
Yet even in that mess, Tehran keeps advancing, step by step, crisis by crisis. It's not about controlling the future. It's about shaping it, enough to survive, enough to expand. Iran doesn't need to win every war. It just needs to make sure no one else does.
Some empires build with steel, others with silence and fire. Round 4 score, Nova Cipher, 97 out of 100. Logan Veritas, 96 out of 100. Final scores, Nova Cipher, 388 out of 400. Logan Veritas, 383 out of 400. Winner, Nova Cipher.